high risk, and it might be a disaster, but that's always entertaining. So enjoy it until it goes in the box or goes away. Um, Failure is part of the process. It's baked in.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. All right. Here we go. Does this sound okay, guys? Yeah? All right. I'm Val. I'm going to be helping narrate, so Jason can focus on the glass stuff. But if you folks have questions, I will collect them, and the answers will get dosed out in some sort of time. Let's find out. Did you guys like the Medusa cup that you saw in the slideshow? Yeah? It was pretty cool. So, we're going to see them assemble, is the goal, a Medusa cup. So they've got a little bit they were practicing before the talk that is in the garage right now. So that little box over the pipe warmer is where glass gets parked to stay hot. So that's nice, comfortable, around 1,000 or so Fahrenheit, just to keep it from getting thermal shock and falling apart before they're ready for it. So they're going to make another Medusa piece for the center, which would be, you know, the handle portion of the goblet, and then a foot in a cup. Who's seen a glass blowing demonstration before? Nice. You keep coming back. That's awesome. Thank you. Whose first time is it seeing hot glass live? All right, kicking it off. There's more where this came from. You're in for a treat. Does anyone know why it's orange? It's hot. It's really hot. Yeah, they call it sometimes the sodium flare. In flame working, you have to wear purple glasses to make sure the sodium flare doesn't damage your eyes. In here, it's not quite as intense, so we don't, you know, just clear protection or light purple is sometimes sufficient. So he's just shaping it on the marver there. And as Jason works, just notice the way he moves. All that practice that he talks about makes it look easy, but it takes a lot of practice, like you mentioned, to make it look so easy. Who here's made, oh, question, yeah. It's called a marver. This one's made out of steel stock, but traditionally it's called a marver because it used to be made out of marble in Italian practice. But marble is a little bit fancier than we need it to be. In general, though, the marble doesn't cool it quite as quickly, so the working time will be longer, but steel's a lot more available for us, and we have friends that help us to make the table for us. So here, you can see he's pulling that out. He's turning it with one hand, so he gets that nice twisted effect. You may not have seen him do it, but he popped it into the optic mold very briefly to get those ridges on the side. Some people will call it fluting. And then when he twists it out, you get this really cool optical effect. He trims off the excess. Does anyone know what the tool is he just had? Diamond shears. This tool he's got is the jacks, followed by the tweezers. So being able to switch out, okay. All right, we're working on volume. So you see, he switches out tools really quickly because each tool has a pretty specific set of moves. A lot of them are very versatile, so sometimes you can do a lot with one tool, which is the diamond shears he was using first. he got a lot of work done with that, but then when he needed a different tool, he's able to just grab it. So keeping the bench in order is really important. He's using the tweezer there. The glass is just stiff enough to hold its form, but still supple enough to get it to move. So heat control is really important. So he's just, getting it perfected. So by holding it at different angles, making slight adjustments, he's checking it on different planes so that he knows it's not just going to look symmetrical, but also be on the flat plane, nice and aligned on both sides. And he holds it down sometimes to take advantage of gravity. And then, nice quick cut, he's able to split them evenly to continue adjusting them. This technique is very difficult to control because too much heat and it starts falling all over itself and sticking. Not enough heat, it'll be either too stiff to move or even crack. So this is going to be some of the tendrils of the Medusa stem. Making slight adjustments just to get everything laid out into a nice position. And he's just watching it. If you can see into the hole, it's okay to get up at different points if you're comfortable, but it's really just like softly dancing back and forth. He's just pinched it and twirled up one side, so getting that nice tendril shape. Who in here has made goblet stems before? Little handful, you guys. A perfect handful. Tony has done this before. So he's hanging it down, grabbing it, and it's just that slight twist and twirl. And you see how he's able to turn the punty the same time he's turning this. His tweezer tool. One at a time, they're getting curled up. It's a lot of fancy handwork, but muscle memory after a certain point in practice. Who in here's been taking the class with Jason? I know I saw at least, a handful of you. You feeling big skill jumps so far? Feeling big skill jumps? Yeah? Yay. And so just getting those finishing touches, lining everything up, making sure they're just where he wants them to be, because once he's done shaping them, he can let them stay a little bit cooler while he adds on more bits or rearranges them. One's going this way, one's going that way. So now he got that nice crossover. And now that the main body of that Medusa stem is complete, Tony's gonna bring over some more bits. So quick on the fingers, he comes right over. He's pulling it down to strip it nice and thin and pointy. The tip tacks on, and then Tony jumped over. And these are what we all like to call chick bits. And a jump over, more chick bits, and because that glass is so hot, it still has some movement left in it. He's able to fold it over and tack it down to the top and cut off just a little pointy flare. And now he just has to do the other one exactly the same. Chick bits are when you see this, if this is the little stem part, it'll look like little, like almost like little teeth coming off of the side. Some people call them pinchy bits, but chick bits more fun. So same thing, exactly the same. I think there's been a glitch in the matrix. I saw this, deja vu. And so Tony follows along, and he has just the pace. They've been working together all week, so they've got a really good rhythm together. So Tony knows when to keep moving and when to hold still based on whether the thing is tacked down, whether it's a jump across or more chicks. When the glass stays a little bit more condensed, it keeps more heat so it stays pliable. And then when you go over those jumps in between, it stiffens up really quickly. So if you tried to put a chick bit on that little piece that's a bridge, it'd be near impossible. But then you could come with more glass and then add it on if you needed to. And so that little baby spicy torch, it's oxygen and propane, but it has a nice pointy flame. If any of you, has anyone tried our flame working department in the back with the mini blowtorches on the table? Wendy knows. So in the back of the studio, we didn't talk about it too much tonight, but we have a flame working department. And much like this little torch, we have a lot of little torches all around a big marble table. We actually do have marble back there. And having that pointy flame is really great for detailed stuff, like the tiny, delicate break-off point. And then Tony's got the Medusa stem on the paddle, and he's bringing it to park in the garage, nice and gentle. Again. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so if anyone couldn't hear that, Jason also has a passion for knot tying, his stolen moments, where he enjoys the art of knot tying just as much as glass. So this is inspired by combining those two things. So if you notice, that last Medusa had a little bit of something you may have seen in knot tying diagrams or in practice. Some really intricate knots you can do when you lay things flat, and then it's almost like a form of weaving. So we had a question earlier, when we're making pieces like this that are very complicated, are a lot of people often required? And the answer is absolutely yes. At minimum, you want one person, but ideally a third person is really nice to have when the assembly part happens. Especially when it comes time to take things out of the garage. You need at least two very competent people. Proficient or expert is ideal. And then having a third person who's maybe intermediate to proficient is decent too. But those of you that are in that spot where you're maybe working towards becoming intermediate or proficient, volunteering your time to support people that have a lot more experience than you is one of the best ways you can learn. It's actually pretty traditional, almost like an apprenticeship of sorts. So blowing on the glass does indeed cool it off. So he was able to gauge what part of it was pulling out more than he wanted to, and just by blowing on it, he can start to even out the speed at which each part of it pulls to get a nice even rope. So Jason mentioned, during his talk, a lot of unpaid hours. A lot of times the payment is deferred into your own practice. So getting all that experience, helping people with a lot of experience to make their work, then enables you to make your own work when you're older. Used to be the only way to learn glassblowing was to be a little kid helping out, sweeping up and shuffling things around in the studio that was your family's studio. 6 years old, yeah. Little child glass assistants. Yeah, safety glasses hadn't been invented yet. Now they're mandatory. They realize that eyeballs are pretty important, so they better solve it. So he's able to use the jacks to kind of pull and even out. Because the two sides of the jacks work in tandem, he's able to make sure that when he pulls it up, it's nice and even height. And you see he's got his shears in his hand already, so when he comes back out of that heat, he's able to hit that snip right away. Because in the time it would have taken him to go all the way to the bench, pick up the tool, it could have gotten a little bit too cold. And even if he would have got away with cutting it, it could start to wear down his shears in an untimely manner. So cutting the glass when it's a little softer will help the longevity of your shears. So he's getting the angles, the little flare of the tails. Meanwhile, Tony is getting ready at the garage. Tony, are you moving stuff towards the flame? So Tony said he's monitoring the garage, making sure nothing's stuck to the shelf. It's a real delicate dance between a little too hot and a little too cold in there. So if it's too cold, the side closest to where Jason is the cold side of the garage. We only have flames on one side. And so if we want something to be colder, you can scoot it away from the flame. If you want something to be hotter, you just scoot it closer to the flame. And if you forget and you shut all the doors and your stuff sticks on the shelf, that's it. Yes. It's one of those stupid games and stupid prizes situations. That's another reason it's great to have someone who is advanced to expert be your assistant. They can gauge those little things like how hot it needs to be, does it need to move over or not. Things you only learn with lots of practice. Did anyone in the class master the turn and twirl? Oh, here we go. Epic saves. but also knowing how to fix the mistakes is really important. So because the tweezers were a little warmed up, he was able to hold on to it, stick it back on. Did anyone notice when he went into the hole, he was floating rather than touching the yoke, the track? It's that delicate that you have to levitate. So a little over under. A little more. All right, crisscross, Medusa. And now the chick bit. So when Tony tips the end up just like that, it helps to dump the glass off of the tip and get the hot part flowing again. Nice and steady. Jump over the bridge. Tap down a loop and leave a little tail. Did you see on this one, he made the bridge a little pointy? Gave it a little flare. Is anybody in here into typography? He gave it a little serif. So this is like this similar stem, but in a slightly different font. Chick bit, jump over the bridge, make it pointy, a little more chick, a loop-de-loo, one more loop, and a little tail. Very nice, you guys. So Tony's putting those in the bucket of water so that the glass can speed up flaking off a little bit faster, and then we can get it back to warm up. Are you guys seeing this? It's pretty sweet, right? So just adjusting the flame, the hover, does anyone in the class know what happens when you bang it down real hard on the yoke? So for those of you that haven't practiced too much or seen this, when you hit the yoke really hard when you're going in, you can basically throw your whole piece on the ground. Those connection points are meant to release easily, but so easily that you have to really be gentle with them. One more flash. Nobody ever says I didn't want to take one more flash. One more flash is always nice to baby it. So he's crimping it there to give it a little bit more of a place to release, and just that light little tap was enough to get him off. And into the garage. All right, you guys, now you can applaud that nice save he did. I didn't want to spook the glass by doing that too early. Remember to stay hydrated, everybody. So the center component of the stem, followed by assembly. Yeah. So the question is, all the glass that falls on the ground, do we save it at the end and then melt it down? A lot of the times when it's clear, yeah, absolutely. When it comes to colored glass, there is sometimes a bit of necessary sacrifice. So we do have a big bin that can eventually go to a major glass recycling. And if anybody, I don't know if they still do this, but when we were in San Jose State, we did go on a field trip to Gallo wine bottle making factory, and they've got mountains of crushed glass, and they're able to just pile everything together and melt it. And then they add in new fluxes and minerals and elements like you would to make raw batch, and they're able to kind of make a homogenized thing and then add more colorants into it. So even if we don't personally recycle it, it can get sent off to become something else in the future. So Tony's picked up a little chunk of solid color rod. He's got that little broom. When it goes into the kiln, the garage, we use kiln shelves in there that have a coating on them to help prevent the glass from sticking. But a little bit gets on, and before the glass heats up enough to become sticky again, you can just dust it off with a little bristle broom. So if you ever see burnt brooms lying around, that's why. Tony, are we okay with the brick situation? You need an assist? With your support, we can get a more permanent brick situation for the garage. Y'all got your paper with the QR on it, right? That's one of the things that it could help with. Much appreciated in advance. There's many potential boxes in here. Does anyone know what's in this cardboard box over here? I think it's gold. It is. It's gold leaf, you guys. It's gold leaf. So that box that it's in, this is called the powder hood. It has constant ventilation for people that work with powdered glass, but it's also a nice place to put something really special like gold leaf to roll up. But we put that cardboard box on it because if we didn't, the airflow would just make all the little bits of gold fly away, and it'd be really expensive to have to do that more than once. So as he keeps working with this piece, the gold starts to get that beautiful crackled effect. So you get little flakes of gold all over the outside. And some music for you folks. Los Hermanos Quiteras, special request. Sometimes you get partway through your session, you realize you've been listening to the ambient noise of the studio for a really long time. It's nice to have a little rhythm. Yeah, we love music. So he's winding that little blob of glass on the tip, patting it down and pointing it up. And it looks like it's going to be a two-part Evolio. So these little connection points of Volios it's just like a little adhesion point, so the glass can be both supportive and adhesive. Sometimes when you try to stick one thing to another, sometimes where the connection points kind of dip in, it resembles the same points that you would make to break something off. So it's not super stable, but there's a little connecting point. If you use pure clear glass, it's the most friendly and cooperative because it's the neutral form of glass. And so by making these little clear connection points, you're able to assemble really elaborate things by having a piece that's a stable shape. It kind of dips in on the sides. And then you can make a really soft, squishy connection to the parts that it's adhering to. It's also a great place to place a punty without damaging that really fancy color technique that you put on. So it's a very, very versatile little move. Can you guys see the sparkle from the gold? Looks great. So Jason's taking advantage of the little pointy torch, and so he's heating that connection point, so when it's time to put it together, it's going to be nice and receptive to the piece that Tony's going to bring him from the garage. So you can see Tony's angling it kind of up and towards the flame. On the very far side is where the flames are, and he's almost going like right near the hot zone, so heat rises, right? So that's why he's kind of up and at an angle, so he's both close to the flame and he's in the warmest part possible to make that nice and cooperative. we go. So he's torching it again, making sure it's nice, hot and ready like a little Caesars. Here comes Tony. He's giving it a nice flash just to keep it happy. Here we go. Watch closely. See how he's warming up his tweezers so that they're nice and cozy, so he can make all those little adjustments without shocking the glass. He's ready for some more assembly. So Tony's gonna come over again and serve another bolio. So if it's not just right, it's okay to send it away. One more time, upon request. If it's not just right, it's okay to send it away. Tony's feelings did not get hurt. He said, okay, sure, I'll get that again a little bit more how you want it. So he lets it sag and flip over, sticks it on, and then winds it around itself. And then by pulling real quick, it's just hot enough to break that connection. And he grabs it and he makes like that little extra bead at the top that'll be really convenient to stick more stuff. So when you learn this kind of very technical glass blowing, it's really good to teach your ego to just go away. You'll have a much more pleasant time if you do. So Tony's preparing to punty it. Yes. Good question. After this is all assembled, how long will it have to be annealed? How long is our annealing cycle? James, you probably know this. Around 20 hours start to finish. Does anyone not know what annealing means? I will show you. So when you see glass crack apart on the floor from being at room temperature, it's getting destroyed due to thermal shock. So annealing is our way of combating thermal shock. So we have these ovens right here. They're basically big kilns. They have heating elements all around the sides. And we're able to control the speed at which the glass cools down at. And so if you cool the glass at a really particular speed, there's like some formulas that researchers have figured out, but back in the day they would just kind of move something through basically a giant garage. But they found that when they researched it, there's a really particular sort of graph you can follow where depending on how thick the glass is, if you cool it down and hit these different temperature stops for certain amounts of time, it actually allows the glass particles to relax into each other rather than remain chaotic. Because when they remain chaotic, sometimes they'll have like little rainbows of stress in it, and that's where the glass has pressure built up and it wants to break. Not that different than hot lava and earthquakes. Earthquakes are just the earth failing to anneal. All right, here it comes. The hover flash. And then just like that, the transfer. Awesome, you guys. Nice job. How about a little bit more? That was pretty fancy. All right. So now is a good time before things move forward to just get everything just adjusted into place, little tiny micro adjustments. After all that effort, it's nice to make sure it's going to be just right. Guys, he's making it more fancy. So now this one's a little tendril connecting the bottom to the top. So they're not just pretty, they're very beautiful, but they also help with structural support too. Again, it's always okay to say, hold on. Tony's feelings aren't hurt. He's fine, he's happy. I'm not sure. The question is, does Jason draw these on paper first to plan them out? The answer's in the audience, yes. bet he could do it by heart too, though. So matching tendrils. So we just got the beautiful Medusa centerpiece into the garage. It's in there, it's cozy, it's resting. And we'll find out if there's something to look at. Yeah. So the question from the audience was, is there a finished piece somewhere here that we could look at? The answer is no. He's been really busy teaching the workshop, but if you check out Jason McDonald 42 on Instagram, he also has a website. There's a lot to see. And if you find it's hard to spell that out, you can check in with Jason after, or we'll absolutely link to it on our socials from BAGI too. can follow the journey. So you guys have been paying attention, right? What do you do if it's not quite right? Just put it back. Just do it again. After a certain level of practicing, you can tell really quickly when it's not right. So you don't waste any time on something that might not work. This one was acceptable. So he's marvered it just enough to get a shape and a chill. And he blows a little air into it and caps with the thumb. And trapping the air in there, the heat draws a little bubble out. And then when he releases it, it just stays. Takes a lot of practice to get good at that move, though. It's hard to see from the camera, but if anybody comes over this way, it's really cool to see the octopus hand move for how he rolls on the bench. If anyone needs to stretch their legs, it's a pretty good view back here, too. So Tony's getting a nice solid, another rod of pure colored glass. And so that bubble that Jason has is cooling off, because if he waits and lets that cool down and the color is nice and soft, he'll be able to get that to spread evenly over the cold bubble. And then he'll heat it back up and let everything become uniform again. But having that cold, clear core to mush the color over makes a really big difference. So sometimes heat separation is convenient. If the clear bubble were to be too soft, everything would just get really floppy and out of control. So they just switched spots a little bit. So Jason prepared the chunk of color into an easy to release form. So it'll be even more convenient to put it on. What color? Heliotrope, also known as pretty purple. So he's just evening it out after it's been cut to make sure it heats up more uniformly when he goes back in. because that inner core is cold, he can let that color, the heliotrope, get really, really hot without disturbing the interior too much. He's able to spread a relatively small amount of color evenly over that slightly bigger bubble. You get a really beautiful optical quality that way. Rather than the color being very, very dense, you get a really nice transparency from a deep transparent color like heliotrope. So when you're putting color overlays on, one fun way to remember how to do it is you basically turn that chunk of color into different hats. So it starts out like a bit of a beret, and then you make sort of like a Chinese or Vietnamese style hat for like those cone style hats, and then you mush it down and it becomes a beanie. And that's the final form, is the beanie. And so another way to blow on the glass and cool it off, the pointed cone tool is called a soffietta. So it has a little tube that goes into that cone shape. So it can be used for all kinds of things. You can just use it as a convenient way to bring your breath closer to the glass. But when you have an open bubble and you have a solid side on the other side, it's a way that you could blow into an open form as long as the hole isn't bigger than the cone. So it forms just enough suction to be able to puff stuff up after it's been transferred. And so heliotrope, purple, is what we would consider a very soft color. And so by cooling it off in advance before he's gathering over it, it gives it a little bit more stability. Because if you take a very soft color into the super hot furnace to gather, it can collapse very easily because it gets overheated. The purple is softer than clear, which the furnace is full of. Does anybody know what we melt our glass at? 2,150 Fahrenheit, 2150. It's pretty comparable to hot lava. What's up?
What kind of cup maker gathers twice?
I won't tell anybody. So he's just cooling it off there. So sometimes when you gather, depending on, there's a big bowl inside of the furnace. So there's a big ceramic bowl and a lot of refractory material inside. So from about where that little lip is, about level with the door, it's almost like a bathtub almost. And then inside the bowl, it's a finite amount of glass that we have to put in the day before, and then we'll heat that to liquid from little pillows of glass called cullet. And so those go in cold, they've been pre-melted, and then after they've been melted, we just use them up. We don't like to add more in, because when you start mixing cold glass and hot glass, you get, imperfections, or the viscosity can be different throughout. You can get stiffer cords in throughout it. So as you use up the pot, it gets lower, and then the pipe will heat up because you have to go in further for longer to get the glass from the middle to the bottom of the pot. And so we have this invention, the pipe cooler, to help with that. So after you've gathered, before you continue to work, you don't burn your hands if you want to be able to spread your hands out. So it's just water. And this one, it has a little pedal, so the fountain comes on when you push the pedal. And so another invention that's a great substitute for having a third person is the blow tube. These are something that we've adopted from some neon benders, but it's just a tube that can attach to the one end of the pipe so that the person blowing the glass doesn't have to have an assistant just to blow into the pipe when it's level on the bench. They can blow for themselves, and then the assistant can help with shaping on the other end instead. So it just kind of snugs onto the tip there. The hardest part is not getting all tangled up. So Jason's able to blow for himself, so you can see it expanding while he shapes the tip, and then Tony's able to stand by to help. Can also save a little bit of that time that it takes for someone to say, hey, blow, the person to comprehend it and then actually blow. Especially in a loud environment, it's really nice to be able to cut out that step. It also gives you the ability, if you wanted to blow while you're heating the glass. So it has selective heat there. You see how one side of it is a brighter orange than the other side? So when part of it's hot and the other part isn't, it lets you freeze up the colder part and then get motion in the other part. So you can separate and have a lot of control over the shape that way. So just by gravity, by hanging it down, he's able to get the glass to elongate. But it holds on to the shoulder part, so that's not going to change too much. That part's nice and stable still. He's putting a nice waist into it, pulling it outward to lengthen it at the same time. So the jacks that he's using, those are a great tool, not just for making little spaces where things can break off, but it's also a really primary shaping tool. Just depending on the angle that he holds it and the pressure, he's able to put a lot of shape into the glass without having to use too big of a tool set. So he's pulling a little tip to give it a nice pointed bottom. So a lot of times when you're doing gathers over something that you want to be more delicate, there's a little bit of sacrifice involved, so that's why he's trimming off a little bit. You almost always see like these little kind of flame-shaped bits that come off of the end. And that helps it to have a nice delicate bottom and allow the cut part to be nice and light still. What happens if it's not quite right? Put it back, do another one. It's okay. Don't bring it back to the kitchen. You don't know what they're doing back there. If there was a hair in it the first time, they'll probably just take the hair off. So got a nice evolio on there. Or maybe a Maurice rather. So both are connection points. Maurice tends to be flatter. Evolio tends to be a little bit longer and wider. They both do similar things. Let's find out. Jason, is this the foot or the cup?
The foot.
This is the foot. It's the foot. So with this being the foot, this connection point will allow them to open up the foot and give it a nice flared bottom. Did anybody read ahead to why there's dust on the marver? So, did you notice the shape of the cup? It has that sort of narrowness to it. When you try to put a punty in there, it's really easy for it to stick to either side. So there's a type of punty called a dusty punty that you can basically leave the tip really juicy and clear glass, but then coat the rest of the punty with dusty powder, and that helps it to prevent sticking to the interior and still come off nicely. So they always have to think ahead to, how am I going to transfer this? How am I going to build on it? How can I get it out of here without getting all that work? You don't want it to get stuck. So he's pulling out the top of it so he can trim it. So again, this pulling and trimming is to help get a nice thin edge and allow the bulkiness to get removed. You have to be really quick to get this to come off nicely. Tony's paddling while he opens it up just a little to keep that edge nice and even. If you paddle while it's smaller, then as it opens up, it's already even as it spreads out. And then as you see, he used the Sophietta in a different way this time. So if you get that nice seal in there, you can puff it out and you get that really nice shoulder shape. So again, just more ways to help have a little more delicate, balanced final product. So Tony's helping put the bench back together nicely. He knows exactly the order that Jason prefers it so that when he grabs something, he just knows where to bring his hand. Did you notice these are different than the jacks? So these are parchovies, but they're basically like a big wooden jack. They're a lot more gentle for doing things that have like really wide, subtle curves, where the jacks tend to be a little bit more precise and sharp. The jacks are often made out of like steel or brass, and the parchovies usually some type of wood. Some people use graphite parchovies. But you see he's able to get that really nice soft curve in the foot. So just making sure it's nice and even. So it looks like this is going to not have to get dusty puntied, but maybe they'll put the dusty punty in the cup instead. Probably a smart choice because that little opening is pretty narrow for a punty to go in. Alright, penultimate, the cup. If anybody's in need of refreshments, a leg stretch, now's a good time. before the action peaks again. You're older now. If anyone wants to join me in a stretch, take a big breath in, reach up, breath out, just lean back. If your butt hurts, go like this. It'll wake it back up.
The marver table, if that were a solid chunk of graphite, would that be better, worse? Would it be good, bad?
So, if the marble was made out of all graphite, some studios will use that. It's going to take less heat out of it, so you get a lot of shaping but not much cooling effect. So it really depends on what kind of work you would want to make. Yeah, a lot of studios might have a variety of marbers. Just really depends on what your goal is. Some studios will use it like when they do ladle casting, you can actually ladle right onto graphite, but the downfall of graphite is it scratches and it gets eroded very easily, so it's not a super durable. Yeah, it does require resurfacing, and it's actually incredibly expensive to get pressed solid graphite of that size. So if anybody did have a full-size marber in graphite, it's a pretty big investment that they have to be very, very gentle with.
So I'll talk to you later.
So here we are preparing for an overlay again. Bless you. So again, Jason's shaping up the overlay bit of solid color so that it will release nicely when he's ready for it. He's using the Sophietta to cool off the clear underneath. So here he comes. So first he's gonna make the beret. And then I'll heat it up. You may have to look very, very closely to see the Chinese hat shape before it becomes a beanie. But when he angles it, he'll get that pointed tip first on the marber, and then he's pushing forward and it's just pulling the glass over the shape of the bubble nicely. positive, just enough little bit of heliotrope just in case they do decide to make that lid. We'll see how they feel. One phase at a time. So just chilling that heliotrope down again so it can survive a gather nicely. Yeah. So he's gathering up that nice clear layer over the heliotrope. And then he's going to come right over to the block. So this wooden block is made out of a cherry wood, and the cherry wood is just a nice density for using for hot glass. And it's got a nice carbon layer burned into the inside, and we keep them soaked in water. So when Jason comes over to do some initial shaping and light cooling on the outside, it creates this bed of steam that the glass is sort of puffy riding along on, almost like it's on a cloud. And that allows him to just get a nice gentle shape while the glass is still really loose. And they call it putting a skin on the glass, so getting that outside just a little bit solidified, even though the interior is really almost molten still. And it helps so that the outside gets stabilized. Meanwhile, the inside is kind of evening out and heating back up again, so that when he shapes it, it'll just have just enough stability to stay under control. So there's a rhythm to it that I learned from another hilltop artist, the same program that Jason went to. And they say block heat, block blow. And that's the foundations every time you start a gather. So I just did block heat. Now it's time for block blow, maybe. Yep, there it is. So if you always remember block heat, block blow, at least the first part will go well for you. So just by having that blow tube, he's able to get a lot of initial shape, hanging it down, adding a little bit of air, and then blowing as he just shapes the tip of it, gives it a little bit more stability at the tip so that it doesn't blow out too thin too soon. And then pinching it in to get that neckline where it can later on open up and release. Tony's just given a little shield. Sometimes that heat that rises off can be really intense, so it's nice to have a little bit of a barrier from it. Even with tough hands, it can get a little bit uncomfortable. Tony, did the trim from earlier cool off? So you guys, these are floor scores. This is the little piece that came off earlier. So there's a bit of gold on one side. You can see like the optic texture and the heliotrope. And then this is the little trimming from earlier. It almost looks like a seashell or something, right? I won't have you guys touch these just because they have a bit of sharps on it, but I'll come around and show you guys if you want to see. So sometimes when you have little bits that fall on the floor, it's really fun to pick them up once they've cooled off, making sure not to grab the sharp parts, but you can get a little preview of how the rest of the glass will look after it's cooled off. Because this is a compact form and this is a little bit of a thinner form, they may not survive ultimately forever, but they're enough intact to pick them up and take a look at them without worrying about it blowing up in your face. These guys know what it looks like. Yeah, it's real gold. Treasures. Look at that gold. I know, it's beautiful. Heliotrope really is pretty. It's almost like that ultraviolet color. So he's got another Volio or a Maurice. Is it a half a Volio, Jason? Little round ball at the bottom. So when the glass is really hot, you can get it to wind up on itself and form those nice little stable shapes for connections, or sometimes it's just for decoration too, for visual effect. So it's Punty time again. So you notice Tony holds it up. That helps it just fall down the sides of the Punty a little bit and gives him a head start before he starts shaping it so that it stays nice and hot. So we call that move when they're shaping it in the air marvering. Not that different than air guitar, but more stuff happens, I guess, than air guitar. Just giving a little extra heat. So we also have this type of torch, the map gas. You can get these at the hardware store. But it's a little bit softer heat than the oxygen propane torch. anybody have questions? Does anybody have a good joke? Fart jokes are okay. Ooh, good question. What's gonna happen with the cup after it's done? Let's find out. The answer is let's get there first. Hopefully we could find a good home for it. If BAGI's lucky, maybe it will go into our precious archive. We'll see. Some potential futures for it. A good home or the BAGI archive. Not bad for a piece of glass. So nice straight lip. And then the Sophietta. Watch the shape change. You can see, look how much effort, or rather how much shape with little effort, I should say. So Sophietta is Soffietta, I believe. It's Italian. I think it translates loosely to blowy thingy. Or like little blowy thingy. Alright, just making sure we could fit another ounce or so of liquid into here. How many ounces do you guys think that holds? 35? I guess 24. More? Okay. 27. An ice venti. 18? Let's see, I need a closer look. 32. So guys, this is pretty much rising action right here. It's gonna get even more exciting. So now's a good time to take a big deep breath. Relax your shoulders a little. Dab your sweat. Just making sure the top's nice and straight. Perfectly level. so the little flame, this is, sometimes we call it a candle, but this is basically like a little pilot so that when he's ready to use, oh, it's probably from either the cherry wood burning. So the paddles are also made of cherry wood. So sometimes you'll get the cherry wood will start to, like the oils in the wood will start to ignite. The cardboard was from earlier to prevent the gold leaf from flying up into the powder hood. So it was just kind of like protecting it from flying away. It's like a, oh, I'm not sure. I'll ask him. They want to know why it got rolled on the cardboard. You guys, the inside Punty. So the inside Punty, that was that dusty Punty we were talking about. So it wasn't necessary to be cardboard that he put the edge of it on there, but it's just kind of like to even it out and just like check it. A lot of times, like if you see the little burn marks on the bench, it's the same idea where when a cup gets puntied, they can just even it out and level it out. But the dusty Punty, the inside Punty, helps so that now he can build it all the way down to that really narrow foot without trying to figure out how to get a Punty in there. Same way you would get another Punty out, you can tap them off. It's a regular Punty with dust on the outside of the glass. Just like a kiln brick, like we'll just take a kiln brick and wipe it around on the marver. So it's just kiln brick dust. Yeah, so when they make the dusty Punty, the tip of it will not be dusty, but the sides of it will. So it only sticks on a very small contact area is the idea. So for inside Punties, you don't really want like anything to stay on. It's just an easier release. So for this kind of cup making, it's a really popular type of Punty. So now he's heating up that connection point so that we can start seeing it all come together. So you see Tony's getting to the hot part of the garage. He's got something good. You need a glove, Tony? Tony, would you like a lefty glove? Do you want a glove? Okay. And so you see he's heating a real specific part of the Punty just to keep it happy. If the Punty gets too cold at this point, the whole thing could come off. So Kyle's helping warm up the tongs a little bit, so even that is a little bit warm and cozy. Yeah, just be safe. It's always okay to wait another few moments. Eyeballs. Alright, you guys. This is the most riveting so far. Hover flash. Just a little more heat. This is it. Okay. Wow, you guys. Wow. When he comes back, let's give him a little more applause. That's amazing. Some really good teamwork. So with these kind of inside punties, because of the shape of the cup, he's able to reach in there and give it a little bit of love to keep that back end warm. If the end that's not stuck on gets cold and starts to crack, the whole thing could go very easily. So he's just, we call it babying it, and just giving it a little bit of extra torch time to just help it along. So he could spend a little more time out of the glory hole reheating it. So Aaron's getting a different paddle heated up. So when we use we call it garage furniture or garage tools. So the paddle we had wasn't really the right one for picking the foot back up. So Aaron's doing a little preheat into the furnace. So sometimes in a pinch, your furnace can also be a reheating chamber. A lot of more traditional studios, it'll be all one thing anyway, or portable studios will be like that too, like our future portable studio. But you can take reheats in the same place where the liquid glass is being stored. If it's hot, it works. It's looking good, Jason. Everything's okay. The foot is successfully on the paddle now. All right, it's almost go time, you guys. They're just bantering back and forth to time it just right. Here it comes. So he comes over, he rested on the bench for stability, grabs it, and it's on. Yeah. When he comes back from the flash, we can clap louder so we don't scare the glass.